The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has hailed a major new report on climate change as a survival guide for humanity. Climate scientists from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change said that clean energy and technology can be exploited to avoid the growing climate disaster. But they also warned a key global temperature goal will probably be missed. They say the world is expected to warm above 1.5 degrees Celsius by the early 2030s. Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has been speaking at the launch of the IPCC report and said everyone needs to work together quickly to achieve the climate change goals.
Today, I am presenting a plan to supercharge efforts to achieve this climate solidarity pact through an all-hands-on-deck acceleration agenda. It starts with parties immediately hitting the fast-forward button on their net zero deadlines to get to global net zero by 2050. Leaders of developed countries must commit to reaching net zero as close as possible to 2040, the limit they should all aim to respect. This can be done.
Well, I'm joined now by our climate editor, Justin Rolat, who is in Interlaken. Justin, you and I have spoken about these kinds of reports before. What makes this one different and so important?
Well, what this one does is draw together 8 years of work that the scientists in the building behind me have been doing into one single synthesis document. It's called a synthesis report. And the idea is this becomes the kind of bedrock, if you like, for global negotiations on climate change. So this gives the best science evidence of what's happening to our global climate, and it goes to politicians who then decide what policy measures are needed to address that problem. So they're not trying to come up with policies here, they're just stating what is happening to the climate, what's likely to happen under different scenarios, how urgent it is that we take action on this issue.
It's quite a stark point that it makes, that the world is likely to miss one of those key climate goals of avoiding a temperature rise of more than 1.5 degrees Celsius compared with pre-industrial levels. Is that a sort of admission of defeat? Is there a danger that people and governments will throw their hands up and say, well, if we've missed that target, you know, what impetus is there to make changes?
I mean, they're quite careful in the way they describe this. They say under most scenarios, it is now likely that we will miss that 1.5 boundary that was regarded as the key target for keeping emissions within, keeping climate change, I should say, within avoiding the worst effects of climate change. What they do say, though, if we make really deep cuts in carbon dioxide emissions and develop technologies that can draw carbon dioxide, suck carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, we can bring temperatures back down to 1.5 degrees. So, I mean, I think essentially what they're saying is there is a window of opportunity to keep climate change within kind of manageable limits, but that window is rapidly being slammed closed. So, you know, it is a kind of moderated message. I don't think they'd say it's a failure. I mean, the scientists would say we simply are scientists. We study what's happening. It's not our job to succeed or fail on this. But yes, in terms of the global negotiations, it is disappointing, certainly, that when looks like we're going to bust through this crucial barrier. And I think the scientists here would say they hope the evidence they're presenting today, which remember underpins future global negotiations, will, you know, encourage governments to take deeper and more serious action. That's certainly the message from the UN Secretary-General today, who said what needs to happen is we need everything, everywhere, all at once. He said, borrowing the title of the Oscar-winning movie.
OK, Justin Rolat, our climate editor there for us in Interlaken, thank you very much indeed.